The next most important elements of good photography are angle of view and magnification. Obviously, by moving around or moving your subject around, you can shoot from slightly above, below, and side to side, and closer or farther away to achieve just the right look. Close-ups are great, and you want to include the eyes, well lit. Sometimes a full body shot or shot from even farther back can better help establish your location and situation, which may be what you want. Practice moving your viewing angle to get some really great shots. The lens that you shoot with will also affect the general look of your picture and may be more practical and convenient to use than actually moving closer to or farther away from your subject. A telephoto lens will make things appear closer. This is said to have a long focal length. A common focal length for great portrait photography is about 100 millimeters. A normal lens is considered to be about what the human eye sees, something between 40 and 50 millimeters. This is said to have a normal focal length. A wide-angle lens will make things appear farther away and will also distort the image in some interesting and fun ways. This is called a short focal length. A zoom lens is very common and can move from one focal length to another by simply moving the dial. A great advantage of a digital SLR is that you can attach different lenses depending on the circumstances. There are dozens of Nikon lenses to choose from. While you can use all of these lenses with your digital SLR, you need to understand that the lenses will be magnified by a factor of 1.6 times compared to your 35mm film SLR. The reason is that the image sensor is smaller than the 35mm film frame, so the sensor sees only the inner portion of what might be seen on 35mm. The result is great for telephoto lens use. Your 200mm telephoto lens will now function as a 320mm lens on your D70 or D70s. The problem is using wide-angle lenses. A 35mm wide-angle lens will show images at 55mm, slightly larger than normal focal length. And an 18mm lens will show images at 28mm, still wide, but not nearly as wide in perspective. So before you go buying a 100mm lens for portrait photography and a 50mm lens for normal picture taking, consider that your lens selection will be multiplied by 1.6 times in appearance with your camera. The final elements of a great photograph are composition and design. The placement of objects and the location within the frame is critical to make a photograph look finished and artistic. While one person's perception of art is different from another's, here are some general principles you'll want to consider. Showcase the main subject. You can make the subject stand out either by lighting, placement, focus, or background-foreground elements. Practice seeing what these different principles can do for your photos. Again, keep in mind that digital cameras have no film operating costs, so take lots of pictures and do a lot of experimenting. Consider your orientation. Do you want a vertical or horizontal image, commonly called portrait versus landscape perspectives? Some subjects just work better as vertical, some as horizontal. It depends on the mood and purpose of your photo. Placing the horizon. The horizon is where the sky meets the land. Typically, a great photo will show the most important subjects in the upper portion of the frame where the eyes naturally want to look. But sometimes the picture works best to divide the picture horizontally by the horizon and showing it higher or lower than center frame depending on the subject matter. Placing your subject or subjects off of center can sometimes create a more pleasing image. The rule of thirds advocates dividing your viewfinder into thirds, both horizontally and vertically, and then placing your most important subjects on one or more of the cross points. You'll notice that the eye lines for close-ups are often aligned with the top line. Remember to lock your focus and exposure to achieve the kind of balanced composition that you want.